Hey fellas, it's me, Moy the Boy. Now in my last video, kind of talked about one of the worst games ever, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen for the Wii. And if you say that you can play on the PS2 or some of those other consoles, it says on the box, it was made exclusively for the Wii. I don't know if that's true because I don't know if it's on the PS2 or any other systems. Anyways, I'll be here talking about one of the better Transformers licensed games from the 2000s. Or wherever time era this is. So yeah, let's see where it is. I think it might be over there. Now you see here, back then, the DS and the Wii were not that powerful systems in the first place, with the Xbox 360 and the PS3 mainly taking over the more mature audiences. So they got games like Call of Duty and all these other shooter types games that put the M rated like it's their most favorite type of letter of all time. Like name an M rated shooter. That's it. Just like there's so many of them. Try not to name an M-rated shooter or a teen one, and if there is, then I'll be pretty surprised that if there's one too. And I'm sure there's probably a bunch of them that I don't know about, but there's just so many of them. And then came High Moon Studios with their very, very good development team, which is kind of a shame of how they kind of went bankrupt. I think. I mean, they're no longer making games anymore. I mean, they made the Deadpool games and even the Transformers Cybertron series, which is the ones that we'll be talking about today. Now, Transformers Cybertron is an absolute amazing masterpiece of gaming, which is why I'm going to be talking about the one for the DS. This is not the actual box art, as you can tell. I just made this all by myself, and I didn't have a case for it. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Transformers War for Cybertron for the DS. Now, of course, there was a War for Cybertron for the Wii. That was just like you stay stationary, and then you just shoot. You go to the next stage, and you're stationary, and then you shoot, and use the Wii tracker to shoot, and doesn't really look fun or sound fun at all. So I'll be talking about the DS version of this. This is honestly a lot better of a game in the first place. This literally fixes all the problems from the Transformers Wii game and turns it into an actually fun and a good licensed game. So let's look at all the pros and cons of this thing. Yeah. The first pro, my main problem with the Wii version, is that you only play as a select few characters, and it would be a lot more fun if you could. And I was thinking that it would have been a lot more cooler if you could play as your own characters, because what if your favorite character was like Ratchet or something, and you couldn't even play them because you're stuck playing as like Jetfire. Like, who even knows Jetfire? So instead, what this game does amazingly is that after the tutorial level in this game, you get to choose any type of characters that you want, although you do have to unlock them first throughout the levels. You still get to play as any character that you want, which I find absolutely amazing. And each character comes with their own special perks. And there's 3 different types of projectiles I can use. There's the plasma, laser, and solid. And each of the different Transformer characters have their own energy-based weapons with those different types of classes. Like Bumblebee has lasers, Optimus Prime has plasma, and sometimes characters like Cliffjumper have plasma and lasers, which I find kind of cool to strategize on which different characters you should use. And another thing to think about is, well, there are different types of classes of vehicles I can choose. I mean, there's planes with Jetfire and other types of characters like those. And then there's the big, heavier vehicles like Optimus Prime and Ironhide and Ratchet. And then we have the more smaller, tinier cars like Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Jazz, even Cliffjumper as well. So there's many different characters, many different types of strategy types that you can even choose before even playing the game in the first place, which I find absolutely amazing, especially for a DS cartridge, which I mean was like an X64 game or a PS1 game. But this I just find that absolutely amazing of how they were able to pull off this much data into such a small, in the DS cartridge in the first place. And okay, what was I just talking about? I mean, it's all the cool characters. But you know what this game has? This game has that the Wii version doesn't have? Actual game design. Unlike this, where you just go room to room, maybe pull a lever, or fight off a bunch of enemies, you actually do things in here. And yeah, the level design here is a lot better You know, there's platforming segments that you can do, and then there's a bunch of random enemies you have to beat up, but it makes a lot more sense in the context of it because you're on Cybertron, and although yes, there would be enemies on Earth, I'll say they're not as abundant, but yeah. I mean, the enemy placement is a lot more natural, I feel like, in this game, because in Wii, they just can't get placed there just as, like, disposable, like, people, and that's not really good for level design. I mean, I do have some experience coding games, so it's not really that fun at all, but this is definitely a lot more better, because you can go level to level, fighting enemies, pushing buttons, going to pull levers, and then you're just doing all these different types of things and different types of missions, and it really does change the pace of the game. And there's even these segments where you have to drive your car, but unlike this, where it only appears a couple times, this appears more. And this has so much better levels and much better environments to play. I mean, there's so many different neon colors and stuff, and some of the cutscenes that they actually use, although they're not like cinematic cutscenes like this one, which I do have to give credit, kind of cool, but not really, because this game is absolutely terrible. I mean, I know I can't be that mean to the game because it's a game, but it's not as great as people might say. And there's even these collectibles in the game that make collecting and exploring a lot better, because collectibles can get you pretty much stat buffs, you know, and they can upgrade, give you like little upgrades. Not really like as in like, oh, making like your character like completely change in design, like adding them like armor or something. No, not really. You just only choose one stat buff, which only like, yeah, but at least it's something, you know. I wish there were more collectibles other than just like those like little data chips, I think that they're called, and also like you can also unlock different stuff too. Wait a minute. I found one more thing to actually talk about in the Transformers War for Cybertron DS game. A thing that most games probably struggle with is post-game content, of where after you're done with the main story, you know, what can you do? First, there's 100%ing most of the levels but after that, like, what can you really do? That's why, although this does have a co-op mode with a bunch of waves, I mean, that's all really it. There's not really much to do. But this does so much better. There's an arena mode. There's a multiplayer mode. There's so many different things you can do after you're done with the main campaign. And there's even bonus missions where you play as the Decepticons, like Starscream, Megatron, Soundwave, and so many of the different types of characters. Now, should you go check this out? Definitely. I would recommend this so much more than this. If you're searching for a Transformers game, a 3D adventure that is not a licensed cash grab, this is definitely a really good pickup that you should get. You can find the Decepticons one, the Decepticons and Autobots one on GameStop for pretty good prices, because this is a really fun game. I definitely recommend this a lot. There's definitely a lot of things that most people can enjoy. So if you want a good Transformers game, that is definitely worth it. And I'll see you guys later. Bye. Yeah, bye fellas.